Welcome back to the Unbiased Opinion, where everyone's opinion is biased except ours. I'm Colin,
I'm Craig.
And I'm Daniel.
and we're taking a break from the Friday the 13th. We said we're going to finish it,
Thank
but
God.
this time we'll be back with that next week. But this time we have an
Oh,
NFL 2023 midseason review or update, whatever you want to say. And I guess we're going to compare it with what so far we predicted back in September, or I think it was late August. Whatever the case is, let's see how accurate our predictions were. Craig, why don't you start with whatever you're going to start with? Start us off.
well, should we start with I don't want to start with the Giants. It's
Okay.
been a
So
disaster.
I guess I forget what we said about the Jets, but I do remember specifically saying that they're not better than the Patriots. They're not better than the Dolphins. So it's going to be a real struggle for them to even try to make a playoff push. I don't think anyone ever saw Aaron Rodgers tearing his Achilles on the second or third play of the
I think it was the
season.
fourth.
Fourth play of the season, yeah. I don't think anyone ever saw that coming. That is such a blow to them.
Well,
Because
it's funny too because that same thing happened. I think it was the '98 season. I think the year or the '99 season, whichever one it was. Because the year before they made like the AFC championship game, lost to the Broncos. Next year, they have Vinny Testaverde tears his Achilles, first game of the year, and the whole season blows up.
mm, yeah.
That
So
that would have been the '99 season.
Okay, yeah.
so Rodgers is probably going to be using some sort of sorcery or witchcraft because he says he's going to return or at least attempt to return during the season. And this past Sunday, just for reference, I believe it was just week 9, correct? And we just passed week 9.
Yeah, now we're entering week 10.
He was at the Jets game and he was throwing 50-yard bombs. So
But that's like his arm. I mean, it's really more about his mobility, like if he can move. And he's gonna have a walking boot for a while.
he's out of it. So I don't know. He's a weirdo. I think he could probably pull it off. I think it'll be reminiscent of I believe it was the 2017 Packers where he did return from his collarbone injury because the team was in a win now situation where they had to win to keep their playoff hopes alive. He came back. He didn't play too well, and then the Packers shut him down for the year. So that could happen again with the Jets because right now they're 4-4. They are 2-3, or no, excuse me. What is their conference record?
That was 2-3.
I just see their home records 2-3. Their away records 2-1. And I guess the only good thing for the Jets so far this season, Craig, is that they beat the Eagles for the first time in their franchise history. They're 0-12 against them all time, and they finally beat them this year. Jalen Hurts played absolutely terrible that game.
You can beat us 12 times in a row, but you can't beat us 13 times in
That's
a row. That's where we
right.
draw the
We're
line.
catching up. We're 1-12. We're catching up to you. What's the next team you want to talk about, Craig?
Well, speaking of teams that are frauds,
Hmm.
Bills.
Yes. They are currently 5-4, and they are we keep saying it. They're like the Steelers of the 2010s, where they beat up, or they should be better than what their record suggests. They have all this talent, and then they just let egos go unchecked. They play down their opponents, and that'll ultimately not win you anything meaningful in the NFL.
I mean, I know they've had some injuries on defense, but their defense hasn't been entirely the problem. It's been their offense.
I mean, they still Aaron Rodgers. We just mentioned it. Week 1 tore his Achilles. The Bills lost that game. Josh Allen committed 4 turnovers. He threw 3 picks to one guy. He got that guy his interception quota for the season. He gave that guy like a 250K bonus of the year.
And didn't wasn't like 2 or 3 drives back to back? He threw interceptions.
That sounds like it, honestly.
Yeah, he's overrated. He's another one like the NFL tries to prop him up, and he's a highlight guy. He just is not that good of a quarterback. At the Bengals game, he threw that horrible interception.
Remember where I was like, what are you even looking at?
Yeah, you had the corner under the route, and then you had a safety over top. Like, what are you throwing at?
He thought he could put
But the
enough touch
Bills,
on it.
yeah, the Bills are probably like this is probably their last season where they'll probably they'll get the playoffs. They'll probably get bounced out by the Bengals again. And they'll probably claim another excuse. They need to we need to. If only we had a fifth quarter, we would have beat them. You know,
And I
but
just think because people always say like, oh, the Bills don't have any other help on offense besides Stephon Diggs, which I don't believe that's entirely true. They refuse to run the ball. As long as they don't run it effectively, they just don't want to do it.
well, that's a bigger issue for them is coaching. No one has like come out and said they lack any coaching, because it seemed that when Dayball was with the Bills, he was somehow able to like keep the reins on Allen for the most part. But like since Dayball has gone to the Giants, who's their OC?
I got it. It is
It's Ken Dorsey.
Ken Dorsey.
yes, Ken
Yeah,
Dorsey.
the Bills have like no structure. I don't know what their game plans are each week. Like, I wonder if like their practices, it's like Josh Allen just draws in the dirt and then they just run that, because they don't run the ball, or they
Writes on
they
his
run the
hand like,
ball.
okay, you run this route, you run this route.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
it's
backyard
like
football.
I was gonna say it's like flag football essentially.
Yeah, but McDermott, if the Bills, if they somehow don't make the playoffs this year, I mean, they'll probably get a wild card. Who knows? They shouldn't catch the Dolphins. Dolphins are a better team than they are. But you figure they get a wild card. I mean, if they don't get past the divisional round, I think McDermott probably gets fired, because he's been what they're now six. This is his seventh year, I believe, and they've already made the AFC Championship game. They've had two. They lost the Chiefs game with 13 seconds left. Which that's horrible coaching. And then they complained about the overtime. And then last year, they got home field against the Bengals, which, if they had finished that game, the Bengals might have been home. But regardless, they had the Bengals at home in the snow, and the Bengals absolutely handled them.
Daniel,
Which the
you're
Bills,
forgetting something very critical. The week before that, they took on the Miami Dolphins with the third stringer and barely squeaked out a win.
That's also true.
It's true. But what was it? Just this past Sunday, when they're like the pregame before, they're talking about how the Bills players were complaining like, "Oh, we lost to them last year because of the snow." Like, how idiotic is that? Like, you guys dwell in the elements, and you lost to another team that dwells in the elements, and you're going to use the elements as an excuse.
I don't think that they won't be complaining when they beat the Dolphins because of like the cold weather, but when they have to play a team that's used to the cold weather, then it's an issue.
I just don't get their they're just complainers. They're all talk essentially. When they lose, they finger point everything else but themselves. Josh Allen did not play well in that playoff game against the Bengals. He just didn't. He was overthrowing Stephon Diggs half the game.
Their
Stephon Diggs is
defense
another
got
one. He complains all the time.
Oh my God, he's a ticking time bomb. Like I always see him like having a hissy fix. I remember, I think we're all like chatting during the game. Like
I guess for our viewers, Craig, for reference, we were at the Bengals or the Bills at Bengals game
yes,
on
we
Sunday
were.
night.
And the moment like they came out from the half, we all started noticing that they fed the ball to Stephon Diggs like three straight plays or whatever. It's like, yeah, they're trying to get him to shut up because he's probably yelling at Josh Allen. They're not getting me the ball enough. That's why we're losing.
Craig, I turned to you. I was like, honestly, if I was the Bills coach, my first play every drive would just be throw him like a quick little stop route, so that you don't have to hear him for the rest of the drive in case you don't throw it to him again. Just get him his little catch, and then
Yeah.
actually.
He'll
But
complain every time.
regardless, yeah. But again, they have no offensive strategy. They just rely on Josh Allen making some ridiculous play, or what I say to you, like when they came out in the second half and they start doing quarterback runs with Allen. I turn to you, I go, they're desperate already, and they were down like 10, was it 10 points?
But again, like they have no. It reminds you of like the Bills in the early '90s. Like they just, I mean, they threw in Thomas, but like they didn't care to run the ball as much. They just, at least now, like they don't want to run it. Like
At least in
that's
the '90s, they were making Super Bowls. At least
yeah.
that they can't even do that. this
And they
Bills team.
made a Super Bowl, the one playoff run with Frank Reich at the helm. What's the
Oh,
Bills'
we'll get
excuse
to him
now?
later.
But they're frauds. They'll probably get a wild card. Um, Actually, I mean, who knows? Because
They
the
might miss it.
AFC
I mean,
North is
yeah.
stop is stacked. You might have that entire division get in.
I mean,
Like,
right now that's the current playoff picture. I
There,
mean,
yeah, right. I guess should we just mention the current playoff picture right now for Week 10?
I guess for the AFC.
Yeah, for the AFC, number 1 is the Chiefs. Number 2 is the Ravens. Number 3 is the Jaguars. Number 4 is the Dolphins. Number 5 is somehow the Steelers. Number 6 is the Browns, and number 7 is the Bengals. Bills are out of it. They're 8th right now. That loss to the Bengals, they moved down 3 spots.
Tough scene.
Yeah. And I guess before we move on from the Bills, that loss to the Bengals is really going to screw them over in the end because obviously that's a head-to-head matchup in seeding. That's bad. And they're playing Denver on Monday night. Oh, God help us. They're playing Denver.
I mean, they'll probably win that game, but like their schedule
That's
doesn't get easier
Denver.
too.
I don't want to watch them on prime time again.
But I'm saying like for the Bills, their schedule does not get easier. They still have to play the Jets, Patriots, and Dolphins again. Two teams they lost to in their
They
division
play the
already. They have to
Chiefs.
play the Chiefs, the Eagles, and the Cowboys. I mean, there's a very good chance they don't make the playoffs.
they'll probably lose
And
to
they
the
play the
Eagles and
Patriots again, a
Cowboys.
team they lost to.
That's what I'm saying. Like they're besides like the Broncos, which should be a gimme, every game left is easily losable for them.
So what happens if they lose against the Broncos? Probably won't happen. But what if? What do you think would happen? Because then
Bills mass suicide by Bills
they'll
Mafia.
be 5-5 going against the Jets, who again beat them, and I guess you could say that's a fluke.
I
Whatever,
mean,
but they
is it a
still
fluke?
beat
It's
them.
it's not a fluke when Josh Allen consistently makes dumb decisions.
And then
I
they
mean,
have
he
to
did
go
it
to the
twice in the
Eagles.
games last year against them. I forget how many turnovers he had, but it was a lot.
There is a way that the Bills can be 5-7 by their bye week. That can realistically happen. Okay, maybe not 5-7, maybe 6-6 at the very least. Because you give them that win against the Broncos, they still could lose to the Jets, and they're probably going to lose to the Eagles.
It's at Philly.
Yeah, it's at Philly too.
They'll
Who
probably
knows?
lose to the Cowboys. I could see them dropping that game.
Yeah, I mean, and they have the Chargers too, which Chargers will probably lose. They'll probably beat the Chargers, but
That's
again,
that's
it's
like a that's a battle of inept coaching. God. Like the Chargers will do everything to keep the Bills in the game, and the Bills will just keep turning it over. So they'll probably end up tying.
and this part too is they could have a losing record right now. Like they almost lost to the Bucks and the Giants.
Should have lost to the Giants.
Oh yeah, I mean it was a clearly pass interference in the end zone, whatever.
Well, and also Tyrod, audibly that's who we're on.
Yeah,
T-Mobile.
awful.
No, but
Should we talk about the Dolphins?
I guess it's like a fraud division.
The only team
They
that
keep
isn't a fraud are the Patriots. They're as bad as their record suggests. Everyone else is just full of frauds.
that did shock me, like how bad they were. Like I figured, they would probably them and the Jets would be fighting for last place, but I didn't realize. Well,
Let's get to the
actually,
Dolphins
the Jets
first.
with Rodgers, but
Let's talk about Dolphins, then we'll talk about Bill and the Patriots. The Dolphins are another fraud team because if I'm not mistaken, a bunch of their losses have come to teams hot in the playoff contention. Yeah, they lost to the Bills, they lost to Philly, which doesn't really matter in the grand scheme of things, especially in playoff seeding. But they lost to the Chiefs in Germany.
well, they
And
lost to all the legit teams.
yes, that is
Well,
that is
actually,
very concerning.
I saw a
oh, I,
stat where the Dolphins
I shouldn't say
they
the
haven't.
Bills are legit, but they're on the better half of teams. As much as we say, as much as they're frauds, you still have to show up.
Well, I saw something where apparently like the Dolphins haven't beat a team with a winning record in like 2 years or something. Like it's so
No,
like
they
600
beat the
days.
Bills last year.
Okay, but still, like they have a hard time beating like teams with a winning record.
Well, because it's just teams with more talent can cover Tyreek Hill because that's all their offense essentially, just those deep plays. And I wonder, the Dolphins have scored 285 points on the season. 70 came for one game. The
Right, for that
infamous
game,
the
they
infamous
should have gone for the record.
70-20 just absolute desecration of the Denver Broncos.
Especially against Sean Payton, who if he was in that spot, he would have gone to 80 points.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, he would have gone for like yeah, because he's a like that.
He's a prick. But
But the Dolphins are currently 6-3, and they could be another team where they start dropping games. I mean, their schedule does get a little easier. They play the Raiders after their bye. They go to the Jets, then they go to the Commanders. They play the Titans and the Jets, Cowboys at Baltimore, which is going to be a huge game. They'll probably lose that one, honestly.
and they have
And
the
then they play
Bill.
the
They have the
Bills.
Bills last week, which
But they have so many winnable games. Like I can't see them falling out of the playoff picture or even
well,
like losing the division.
so you figure it's going to be their last three games. You figure they'll run through the Raiders. They'll probably beat the Jets in a close game. They'll probably handle the Commanders. Titans. I mean, who knows with Will Levis, but they should beat the Titans regardless. And then
The Jets are
figure they
good.
beat the Jets, but the Cowboys, I could see them dropping that game. Um, Ravens. I mean, the Raven. Who knows? I mean, the Ravens right now are that honestly, them and the Bengals are probably and the Chiefs are probably your top three AFC teams by far. And then the Bills again. It's a divisional game.
Yeah, it's
I
not
And they
just
easy.
should.
think
I mean, you figure they get their division. It's just more where do they fall in the playoff picture?
yeah.
Do
Probably the
do
three
they get
seed.
the? Yeah, probably.
And I guess let's
But
talk about the Patriots, who are last in the conference at 2-7.
I did not expect this.
I
I neither.
don't know what it is. I guess it's Bill's refusal to. Like, I guess last year it was so bizarre where he had Matt Patricia, his own defensive coordinator, calling offense. I think him and Joe Judge were like co-offensive coordinators. It's like, are you trying to sabotage yourself? Why'd you have those idiots? He brings back Bill O'Brien, and I just don't know what's going on with the Patriots. Not gonna sugarcoat it or not gonna lie. I don't really watch the Patriots play, so I
I mean,
don't
yeah, why
know.
would you want to? Like they
Yeah,
were
I
getting like
don't know
blown out.
what's happening, but they're 2-7. They look abysmal from what I have seen. Is Mac Jones the problem? Is it like what is going on with them?
I mean, I think it's they just have a lack of talent. Because I mean, Belichick's never been the greatest drafter. I mean, I guess he can draft well on defense, but offense, I mean, the exception of like Gronk, like usually the guys he like the talented players he gets are usually like trades or like free agent signings. He doesn't really draft offensive talent.
Yeah, and there's rumors, murmurs, if you will, that Robert Kraft might fire Bill Belichick mid-season.
That'd be crazy.
If he does it, that's such like disrespect.
Well, yeah, there's no reason. If your team sucks, let him finish out the year, and then
You owe him that at least. To let him finish the
let him
season.
resign. Like you don't even fire him. You essentially just let him like resign and keep some honor.
Yeah, you can't do that to him. You can't just fire the guy. Like that's what I think we were talking about that in person. I said like the Packers did Mike McCarthy so dirty when they just fired him mid-season. It's like let him finish it. Let him finish the season. He's been there for X amount of years. He won a Super Bowl. Let him
And
finish it out.
it's not like you're like it's not like the Patriots are 500 and like you could save the season. Like your season's done.
Yeah, you're two and
Like
seven.
you're not gonna gain anything by bringing in some interim guy. What you're gonna bring in like one of
Josh McDaniels, you're going to
Belichick's
sign him again?
yeah, one of his disciples. I mean, it's funny because Belichick does he none of his like coaching tree did well on their own.
Well, they never do.
Hmm.
Bill O'Brien is probably the best one out of all of them. As odd and as terrible as that sounds.
Silly Billy.
Let's go see he had Deshaun Watson.
Should we talk about the AFC West?
Yeah, I mean, I guess Chiefs, good as usual. Although offense looks like it's taken a step back.
Yeah, they're still 7-2, but
Well, it's the thing with the Chiefs that no one talks about, right? Because obviously the way the NFL and the media portray it, it's all on the quarterback, it's all Mahomes. No one talks about how underrated this Chiefs defense has been since like Mahomes has been here. Like
Well, it's really
they
Steve
pray.
Spagnuolo.
Would you stop it? All right, we know you're a fanboy.
No, because
You're
I
not.
remember I was saying like he's the most unsung
Oh
hero of
yeah.
their dynasty. Because when they had that other guy, again, they lost to the Patriots. They were dropping games they shouldn't have because their defense was terrible. They bring in Spagnuolo. Next thing you know, they're winning Super Bowls. I don't
Well,
think it's a
the
coincidence.
thing with
Got a point
Spagnuolo
there,
is
Daniel.
he might be like the best blitzing DC. He's very good at knowing how to blitz and be aggressive. No, he is a good DC. Well, because for the longest time, the only claim he had was the '07 Giants run
Pretty good run.
until the Chief. No, but it was the one season. So up until the Chiefs dynasty, what did he have in between?
I mean,
He went to the Rams, which was a horrible head coaching experience. Then he just kind of bounced around. Came back to the Giants, but they weren't talented.
but his
And
one claim to fame at least is more than any other DC, like Gus Bradley, let's say we'll get to later. Vic Fangio, everyone always hypes this guy up, but you never hear anything about his defenses really. At least Spagnola has that amazing game plan that he can
Oh
always.
no, I no. Listen, it is. But but well, then after that, he had like maybe the worst. What was it?
The
What's the
Rams.
Saints in 2012? That was really historically bad.
I thought that was Rob Ryan's defense.
No,
Or was he on
Spagnuolo
the
was the D
Cowboys? Yeah.
coordinator.
Let me look it up real quick.
Spagnuolo was the DC for the Saints in 2012.
I know with the Rams, I think I mentioned this before.
Yeah,
Like
because
my
that was the year that the Saints allowed the most yards in a season.
Yep, yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Let me see real quick if it was him. Continue on your conversation. Yeah, it was him.
No, but for a while with Spagnuolo, like he kept getting these jobs, and then yeah, he did a great thing with the Giants defense and everything. But listen, credit to him. I'll admit it, Craig. Admit it. He's done a very good job with the Chiefs.
'cause remember
Right?
we were joking like opening day like when they lost to the Lions. I was like, no, he's an underrated part of their dynasty. I think like they gave like a big play or something, but like I stand by that. Like they would not be winning. Like I don't care if they have Mahomes, they would not be winning
But
Super
no,
Bowls without him.
well, that's the thing too with the Chiefs. Like with Mahomes, like of him doing, being successful and everything. And listen, he's talent. He's a talent. He is a talented quarterback. But again, he is in the perfect. He stepped into the perfect situation. You know,
Oh yeah,
like
anybody that tries to
Craig,
argue
you
otherwise, I think needs to get their head
like Craig,
checked.
you brought it up. Like when as great, when in the Super Bowl against the Bucks. I know his two tackles were down. Of course against Brady, but you saw when he had pressure in his face, he struggled.
Well, that's
You
every
know,
quarterback. Like you can't play quarterback effectively if you're under pressure every play.
or the most bizarre thing against was the Bengals in the championship game.
Yeah, sending three and dropping eight.
But but the thing with Mahomes, and honestly, and any of the most successful like quarterbacks, I actually let's put it in quotes, the most successful postseason quarterbacks, um, they're perfect. He's in a perfect situation, and the Chiefs' defense just does not get enough credit as it's due. And also to the offense, obviously, he might have maybe a top five, top three offensive mind in Andy Reid.
Oh, 100%. I mean, Andy Reid was so good. He was able to trade backup quarterbacks and get like value for them.
Yeah.
Like how many draft picks did he like con off teams because he traded like a backup quarterback like Kevin Kolb to the Cardinals?
He also has a Hall of Fame tight end to throw to. Mahomes.
Taylor Swift.
No,
Yes, Taylor Swift. So yeah, he
Is that so? Is that
Mahomes
something we should
definitely
no,
discuss?
no,
no.
no, no.
Mahomes definitely walked into the right team at the right time because imagine if he went to the Bears, if he was drafted by the Bears, he would be mismanaged, he wouldn't be winning as
He'd
much
get out
at
of the
all,
league, just like Mitch.
Well,
and
and
we
another
wouldn't know
thing,
who he is except some guy
and
with a
then
really strong arm.
and another thing with Mahomes, well, obviously now he's the Chiefs are the new Patriots. Mahomes is the new Brady. They get the special treatment. because we saw it firsthand at the Chiefs-Jets game when he threw that horrible interception at the
Which
end, and the
one?
ref. Well, yeah, you know which one I'm about to talk about,
Yeah,
but
the
the
ref was
one
like waiting to
at
throw
the
the
end,
flag.
yeah, he literally had the flag in hand and waited to throw, and not only that, he calls what did he call? Pass interference. No, he called the defensive hold when the call should have been like a pass interference. He didn't even make the right call because defensive holding is before the ball's thrown in the air, and he threw the flag after the interception was made.
I mean, that's like a big thing this year. Like the referees have been worse than usual.
We need full-time refs.
But see, I guess to talk about that, I don't understand why we get full-time refs. Like, I don't know what they would expect to change. Because my argument has always been, I don't think they're acting like on their own. I think the NFL is directing them
The
to make
NFL
these
is
calls.
protecting, yeah, the NFL wants certain teams, certain players to win because it sells.
Yeah, they could push it, that's what they want. So that's why people say, oh, we full-time refs, that'll fix it. And I don't think that's true. I think if you really want to fix it, you need like to get the refs have some degree
Now,
of autonomy.
if you want to fix it, there should be a penalty for the refs, or players or coaches should be allowed to hurt the refs.
Because obviously challenging any kind of penalty would never work. We saw it firsthand in 2019 with the reviewable pass interference, and the refs would always begrudgingly go under the hood and say, "Oh yeah, our call was correct. Get out of here." He
Yeah,
loses
screw
down.
you.
Well, no, the biggest slap in the face is they always bring on, Gene Steratore, Mike Pereira, or was it Dean Blandino? Um, yeah, they bring on those, the three stooges of rules, and then they never can ever say like the ref made the wrong call, unless it's a like there isn't like an effect on the game by the call. But if it is if it is such a bad call that clearly affects the outcome of the game, they'll be like, well, Mike Pro, well, it was up to the ref,
That's the
it's up to
human
the ref's
element.
discretion. Yeah, obviously fans aren't going to be happy. They can never just say, yeah, he messed up. They'll release a statement after the game, or in the Tuck rule, they release it decades after. Yeah, we messed up and screwed over a team. Well, like the Colts game.
Well, let's
Well,
get
see,
to,
like
we'll
Colts
get to that
Browns.
later. Yeah, we'll get to
also
that
like
later.
the Giants Niners game, the wild card one, where the refs totally blew the game, and like what are you gonna do? Like, sorry, here's like a letter, a written apology that doesn't amount to anything. Your season's over.
The Saints and Niners, not Niners, Rams championship game.
Yeah, like such an egregious call, but they wanted the Rams in the Super Bowl.
Yeah, even Joe Buck and them could be like, yeah, that was the wrong call. Like when even they're saying it.
Well, he committed two penalties on that play. He got a helmet to helmet and a pass interference.
No, he didn't call. I don't know what you're talking about. That did not
But the
happen.
bottom line is, though, I will still stand by this: the Chiefs are the team to beat in the playoffs until they lose.
Yeah,
Some
Yeah,
some nonsense will happen where they'll
yeah.
win, and
I
unless
mean
someone else can dethrone them, they're the team to beat.
they currently have the one seed. I mean, I don't think they. I mean, they probably need it later on, but they're still the one
Yeah,
seed. They get home field.
yeah. They'll have home field. They'll have Taylor Swift and Kelsey's mom at the game. So they
Making
have
them.
the 15. Yeah, they have the 15th man
The
and the refs
Chargers are
and the refs.
4-4 right now, and that seems a little low for them with a team with that much talent. Yet here
See,
we
they're
are.
they're the opposite of the Steelers. Like the Steelers are they're this talentless team, and they somehow win because other teams get stupid. But the Chargers are such a talented team, but they're so stupid that they can't like they can't get past themselves. Like
Just want to check it out
it's
every
incredible.
time.
What?
Like watching their offense, like it's painful. Like all they do is like throw checkdowns. It's like you can throw the ball further down the field, right?
They play the Lions this week, and that could probably be a loss for them. They'll dip under 500 again.
It's gonna be a loss.
The Chargers are just a team I have no confidence in, and I'll be very surprised if they get 10 wins. I could see them going 9-8 again and missing the playoffs.
I mean, I could see them missing the playoffs, or not missing the playoffs, like having a losing record.
That'd be funnier, yeah.
Do you
And I
think?
guess, should we talk about real quick Justin Herbert and
Yeah, I
how
was gonna bring that up.
kind of unclutch he is in certain situations?
Yeah. Well, it's a combination of things with Herbert because you look at him like his first couple of years, like, he had these great highlights. The dude, has a cannon arm, he's accurate and everything. But so you have the problem with the Chargers. Does Kellen Moore, like, does he just keep his quarterbacks on a leash? Or have they like brainwashed Herbert so much to now he only throws checkdowns?
I think they brainwashed him because at least Dak was airing it out more with more.
Every time they put like the Chargers on like prime time, it's awful to watch because I know that's like what the NFL like is now, like a lot of like safe passes get the ball into space, but it's just with him it's even worse because like I feel like all he does is check it down to Austin Eckler.
Well, yeah. Well, the thing with him is he's a one read guy. He will only stare down and throw, like, how many times like will he just still force a 1 yard route where the guy is covered and it goes backwards?
Too many.
Like yeah. I know they lost Mike Williams, but they still have Keenan Allen. You have Everett. You have
That
the
rookie they
rookie.
signed, they drafted.
Yeah, you have guys that can get down the field, but they just refuse. And I think it's a combination. I think the Chargers, the Chargers have horrible coaching overall, especially with you know um, Staley at the helm. But Herbert also, I think he now is just like he just stares down his check down and that's it. And maybe honestly, Craig, maybe his chin strap's getting so big it's strangling the oxygen to his brain, so he can't make any other decision.
Or sure, maybe it's so big that he's trying to change the play but no one can hear him. So like he has to stick with the play that like Kellen Moore called.
It's like he's speaking through a pillow. No one can hear
Yeah, the
I do
Chargers
want to
though,
say one thing
they're
that I
just
thought was very
they're just
funny.
bad. Yes, go for it.
I said it was so funny that for the last week's game was the Jets and Chargers Monday night game, and usually they try to bring on people who have like some sort of relationship to the teams playing. But for this week, they brought on Trevor Lawrence just to talk about his big comeback against the Chargers.
they're
So like, why is Trevor
they're a
Lawrence
joke.
there?
They're such a joke. The Chargers.
I thought that was funny. That's like they're like, yeah, this guy's no relation. Remember the painful playoff loss last year? Well, here's the guy who helped engineer that.
Well, what's even funnier is, and this is also, I think we said this last year too. This applies to the Rams. They're not. It's like they don't even play at home. They're always on the road. It's just pathetic, honestly. Them and the Rams are just pathetic teams now. And the fact that they have this big stadium that the NFL shilled out for them, it makes it even sweeter watching those teams suffer.
Yeah, but also they got Brandon Staley, like one of the worst coaches in the league.
Yeah, Mr. NFL Amazon Next Gen Stats slave.
I've made this joke before, but he feels like if an NFL team is coached by an AI, like that's the result you get.
He's just hyper. He's like a rare breed of hyper aggressiveness and just like stupidity. It's like I've
A
never seen
dangerous
anything like
combo.
him. Yeah. Well, speaking of a stupid coach, one got fired by the Raiders, the first mid-season firing of the league so far. Josh McDaniels got fired after a 3-5 start, no surprise. And apparently, what made him get fired was Antonio Pierce said something about the Patriots back in '07, and then Josh McDaniels got all hot and bothered about it, defending the Patriots like a schoolboy defending his dad or something. I don't know. It was just like, it was so weird. Like, the way he wanted to defend it, he's like, "Don't you ever say that about them. How
But
dare you?"
but it's weird too because that happened 15 years ago. Like, get over it. It wasn't like this happened like 3 years ago. Like maybe the wound of losing the Super Bowl is still fresh. Like it happened so long ago.
Yeah, what a baby.
And from like the context of like the rumor that I saw, it wasn't even like he was personally attacking Josh McDaniels. He was saying like, in my experience, we won a championship. This is kind of how we did things.
Don't you
Right?
ever say that.
Also, like, people were saying like he had like a lot of like weird stuff like he does because I guess he's the big man in charge, has like, flex. He like would apparently like most teams usually let their practice squad players come to the game, at least the home games. Josh McDaniels wouldn't allow that.
Really?
Yeah. And like other stuff like, he makes like practice and everything like as painful and like as miserable as possible because that's the Patriot way. It's again, but you
Yeah.
haven't won anything.
And he had Jimmy G, who's pretty bad this year. The Monday Nighter against the Lions, you could visibly see Devontae Adams upset because Jimmy G just kept on overthrowing him. He had one catch, could have had like 100 or so yards that game. Two touchdowns. There's two plays where he was wide open, no one could catch him, and Jimmy G overthrows him.
But again, this goes back to him because that was one of his big. They ran Derek Carr out of town. I know you don't like him, but what they did to him was not good.
Oh no, we said that. We said that what they did to him was pretty bad.
Yeah, they run him out of town to bring in a worse quarterback. I mean, I guess he's getting paid slightly less, but still, you bring in a worse quarterback. I don't know why. And also their drafting has been terrible. I think they've. I know make Mike Mayock was bad, but I think they've managed to get worse with their drafting.
Yeah, they're the Raiders just terrible right now, and they. It's unfortunate that they had to fire Gruden, if you can word it that way, because of what he said in his emails. Because Mark Davis didn't want to do it. He didn't want to fire Gruden. They should have just kept Bisaccia. The team was riding high with him. They made the playoffs. They had a good mid-season or late season push. They should have kept him. I know he's a special teams guy, but the team really rallied around him. And then you get this schmuck. You get Josh McDaniels, who's the only guy to ever get fired in his second season, mid-season, by two different teams. He got fired during the Broncos tenure, which was terrible, and then he got fired during this. And I can only assume, Craig, that he's going to come crawling back to Bill Belichick like a wounded animal.
He has to go down as one of the worst head coaches in NFL history. I can't I know some people just don't win, but I feel like he's got the perfect combination of not only not winning, but dismantling the team and making it worse after he leaves. 'Cause at least
Especially with someone with his pedigree and his football acumen, right? Someone who's accomplished as a coordinator. How can you be this bad as a head coach? It's baffling. I don't know, Craig.
well, again, it's all these Belichick disciples. They basically want to be just like Belichick and they emulate him, but they're not him. And no player likes that because if Belichick came in, people would probably get in line because you've won 6 Super Bowls. You're gonna listen to the man. But this guy, he has, I guess, a good coordinating pedigree, but when he comes in, he makes it as miserable as possible for the players. He just, I feel like everything that's come out, he was, let's say like Patricia, they try to make it as miserable as possible. Because I think I told you guys, Patricia, I think he always held practice outside, but they played in the dome.
Oh yeah, yeah.
It's I think the veterans why are we doing this? To what purpose? He's like, oh, you
Did Kurt,
just do a shove. It's the Patriot way.
did Kurt Warner hear about that?
It's if you play in a dome, why need to? I mean, I guess I don't get it. Patriots practice outside, so we practice outside. That's
Well,
why we
it's
do it.
it's one thing if you're going to that week you're gonna play a team. You're gonna play in Buffalo, you're gonna play in New England. That's fine for the week, but if you're playing the Colts,
Or even
why are
playing
we
any home
practicing outside?
game.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's why it doesn't make any sense.
Well,
Uh,
speaking of embarrassing coaching this year, there's another clown in the AFC West. Sean Payton and his Broncos currently sit at 3-5. They're riding a two-game win streak right now. They're coming off their bye. They're going to Buffalo, but as we mentioned earlier, they have a 50-point loss, a 70-20 loss to the Dolphins, and they have a lot of bad losses this year. Russ does look a little better than last year, but it's still you expect more out of Sean Payton, who quit on the team, who quit on the Saints actually. He wanted to leave and jump gun when everything was going bad for them. And this is what he deserves. He's a scumbag coach, and I don't like him.
well, and I think too, like you said, he quit on the team, and this is where it's gonna I think look bad on him because without Drew Brees, what has he really done? People are trying to say the thing with Belichick, but Belichick, it's not exactly the same. Belichick can win without Brady. He's obviously done it. What exactly has Sean Payton done without Drew Brees?
Have a 3-5 record by their bye week.
Well, he's supposed to be what this quarterback whisperer, and like you said, Russ is technically playing better, but at the same time, it's he's still playing bad. I don't want people to mistake that he's still playing horrible, just not as
Ru-
bad as it was
Russ
last year.
Russ doesn't know how to go through his progressions.
Oh
He
yeah, I
really
mean,
doesn't. He doesn't know like which receiver to look at.
oh yeah, 'cause that's what we saw in Seattle. Like he would do that and like just scramble around and like complete a big pass or whatever, but he doesn't have the mobility anymore. Seahawks really like they just love to prey on Denver, just torturing them.
I don't think I've ever seen anybody sabotage their own Hall of Fame chances quite like Russell Wilson.
You could say the same thing with Sean Payton now.
Yeah. I mean, Sean Payton will probably get in because he has the wins as a head coach, but Russell Wilson, he's corny, he's cheesy, and that's fine. But when you start losing in embarrassing fashion, you doing high knees in the airplane just makes you look worse. It makes you look like a clown. He's not
Also,
playing well, and you expect something. You expect better from him at least, because he had some pretty good years in Seattle after the Legion of Boom like disbanded. He had some pretty good years. Now
Yeah, I
he's
mean, but
bad.
people will say like, "Oh, yeah, he's playing better." Again, statistically, yes, but at the same time, it's like you're putting up a lot of numbers in garbage time. Like he put up, I think he threw for like 300 or so yards in that Dolphins game, but it's like, who cares? You're getting blown out.
Yeah.
Like I don't care. You had a good statistical game. You got killed in that game.
Yeah.
do you think
Broncos are a bad team.
Russ is gonna have a movie where Kevin James plays him too?
So the Broncos right now, they sit at the 15th seed right now for the playoffs.
I
They're
mean, they've
they're
got some tough games. I mean,
yeah, they're not going to make it. I'll be very surprised if they make it.
no, I mean, no shot. No, they're done. Stick a fork in them.
The Ravens of the AFC North are currently 7-2, Craig. They have the second best record. They're tied for the best record in the AFC. They're the 2 seed currently, and they've been blowing out a bunch of NFC teams. Ravens look pretty good. I'm not gonna. You can't really weigh the NFC teams, like the NFC wins, too much because, in the grand scheme of things, yes, they count as wins, but again, they're meaningless when it comes to seeding. Yeah, they blew out the Seahawks 37-3. They blew out the Cardinals 30. Oh no, they beat the Cardinals 31-24, and they blew out the Lions 38-6. I don't know. I feel like are they peaking too early with these blowout wins?
Well, that's the thing too. Like Lamar has gotten hurt the past 2 or 3 years, so that's something to look out for. I think they're big tests because they got the Browns and Bengals coming up, and like that, those are gonna be the real games. Like, are they good the
Yeah.
7-2, or like are they?
Well,
Well,
I mean,
remember too, they were 7-3 last year after their bye, and then they finished 10-7.
well,
Oof.
like you were saying, Colin, like they're blowing out all these NFC teams. Both of their losses are one's divisional to the Steelers, right? And
Yeah,
the other
Well,
was the
still Uncle
17 to
Colts,
Rico.
10.
and the other was the Colts. Like the Chiefs, their only one of their losses was to the Broncos, but the other again, them losing week one to the Lions doesn't hurt them. Like that's the reason right now the Chiefs are technically number one because
Yeah,
of
better
that
conference.
that extra conference loss to the Ravens. And I can see the Ravens like see I don't see the Chiefs dropped to the Broncos
But I guess we forgot
mid-season,
to
but
mention that it was their first loss to the Broncos since Peyton Manning was there. They've beaten them all the times, 2016 to 2022. They never lost to them. So it's not too big of a deal when you look at it like that. It's a divisional game. You play them twice a year. I'm sure if they play again, the Chiefs would probably will just destroy them.
they probably will because that's the game that's going to matter more.
Yeah.
I say too, like just for the Ravens, like the big test is like their next two divisional games because when they beat the Browns, Watson decided to be like a wimp and he said he was going to play all week. Decided to say, no, guys, I'm actually not going to play, and like quits on the team right before the game starts. They throw in like the backup who clearly was not ready to play, and they kill them. They beat Joe Burrow on like when he was injured. So like this is the next two games are really going to show like how good they are.
And they play the
I think
Chargers, and anything can happen there.
I think the Bengals will beat them the next time they play them because the Bengals are hitting their stride.
Yeah.
Then they play the
It-
Rams after their bye. They play at Jacksonville, which will be a big game. They lost to Jacksonville last year. and they play the Dolphins. And then they go to the Niners on Christmas, and then they play the Dolphins, and they play the Steelers again.
Do the Steelers knock them out of first place when the time comes?
I don't think they'll even be in first place when the time comes.
And we're not hating on the Ravens again,
No,
just
I
to
mean like
clarify.
they completely knock them down. Like
But
watch them like knock them down to like third or
What does it
but the
matter now? Because like there's no more two seed bye.
so the other team, the Steelers, are currently 5-3,
Gross.
and
biggest
they
question
are
mark.
the fifth seed right now. And it's a
Colin,
miracle
I
that they
think
are 5-3 because they are just awful to watch.
Colin, why don't we let Craig talk about him?
Okay.
No, I mean, I know they're winning games, but like they win the games in like the most painful way possible. They play awful all game. Like I think Cullen showed a stat where they've been outgained every game. They look awful. Their offense is horrible. Their defense is great. That's the only reason why they're even relevant. If their defense was average, they probably would have lost every game.
Hey, they have Mike Tomlin.
Kenny Pickett is not good.
And
He is pretty bad. I think I saw a stat where it said something along the lines of he had his first multiple touchdown game this year.
He still hasn't thrown over 300 yards.
He has not, yes. In the most pass happy era of the NFL, this two glove wearing guy can't throw for 300 yards. Let me see his stat.
and this is something I wanted to bring up because when it comes to people talking about football and quarterbacks, they are very stupid and they for some reason can't seem to separate team success and player success because I remember I saw something I shouldn't have seen it because they make me mad, but I saw like NFL talking heads talking about how Kenny Pickett is clutch, all he does is win, and like have you honestly I think you need to like give your eyes removed and give it to someone else because I only could watch Steelers football and say Kenny Pickett's good and he helps them win.
No, he's terrible. He's absolutely terrible. And the Steelers are gonna hang in there until the last 2 weeks of the season because that's when they'll play a good team, and that's when their playoff hopes are on the line, and their offense just can't physically match another team. Their offense is holding them back, and Kenny Pickett is one of the prime suspects. I hate Najee Harris. He is terrible.
But just like just going back to like Kenny Pickett, like people again, the NFL talking and say how good he is, how he's clutch and all that stuff, and like for some reason these people can't seem to separate, like I said, team success and corporate. Just because you're on the winning team doesn't mean you played good.
He could be very well like a Trent Dilfer on the 2000 Ravens. He doesn't
But
really
you
have
get
to
what I'm
do
saying though, right?
much. No, I know
Like
what you're saying.
it's very annoying because they'll say how great he is, how he's clutch and all this stuff. It's like I don't know what you're seeing. Like I see a horrible quarterback. Like they should have like not they should have lost to the Rams, but like again the Rams another horrible call. They called him. They said he was marked. He gave him the first, even though like he was clearly like a yard short.
Yeah. So they play the Packers next. They play at the Browns, at the Bengals, play the Cardinals, then they play New England. They play at Indianapolis, and they play the Bengals, then at Seattle and at Baltimore. Those last 3 weeks are going to be brutal for them. Especially two of the three, at least. They have to play the Bengals and then at Baltimore. Not easy games.
Yeah, I mean that could be maybe what knocks him out. Hopefully,
And the other team, well, there's three teams in the AFC North, the most competitive division in the AFC by far.
I was the
The
NFL right this
well,
year.
that too is the Browns. They're currently 5-3, Craig, and Deshaun Watson looks like the biggest punk. Not because of the stuff from 2 years ago or a year ago. He's just not wanting to play really.
Yeah, I mean that's the again that's the disturbing thing. Like because that Ravens game he missed all week, he was saying I'm gonna play, I'm gonna play, I'm gonna play right before kickoff. Because I remember I got the notification for fantasy like Deshaun Watson was out. It's like, or no, I think I told Dano because I think he might have picked him up or something. I don't remember.
What?
But I remember I got the notification that he was out, and I was very surprised because there was no indication he was going to miss time. And from all the things we've gone, like he's missed I don't know how many weeks. He didn't play last week. Oh, he did, right?
Yeah, he did.
But still, like he comes back against the Cardinals for like an easy win.
Yeah, they're just terrible, the Cardinals. But the Browns are currently 5-3, as we said, and really they should be 3-5. They had the refs gifted them the win against the 49ers.
Oh, and the guy missed the kick.
Well, that too, but they shouldn't have gotten to the position where I believe the Browns kicked the field goal to take the lead. And I believe on third down or so, there was a bad rough in the passer call. There was like some really bad call that kept them alive. And then of course, yes, the Niners kicker did miss the field goal. They should have lost that game. And of course, the very next week they play the Colts, where on fourth, no, no, I think it was third down. PJ
All I
Walker
know
gets
is,
hit,
yeah, it
and
was horrible. Like the refs, like
two bad calls that game.
I mean, people talk about like games being fixed. That was probably like one of the most egregious examples I've seen in years.
Outside of the 2018 NFC Championship game. I don't know what
But
the NFL wants from the
this might be worse
Browns.
because I mean it was several bad calls in a row.
That's true. But I don't know why the NFL is pushing the Browns for whatever reason. It
They got a
seems
cool
kind of
new
weird that
uniform.
a couple years ago they had this like believe all women NFL's female and whatnot, and then they have this essentially a predator. So it seems like a clash of ideologies, don't you think, Craig?
You know, we call it like hypocrites in the industry, but again, I guess they don't seem to care. Maybe Jimmy
I know
Haslam.
Joe Thomas doesn't care because
What would he say?
he said last year when Jeff Saturday got hired, he's like, "This is the most egregious thing I've ever seen in the NFL."
I was literally about to say that it was a
And I was like,
bigger
"Oh,
deal
there's
that
yeah, I'm sure there are, Joe."
it's a bigger deal morally that a former player and a good player nonetheless is doing a coaching job. Just show 'em.
But the Bengals are also 5-3. They're unfortunately last in the division right now, but they're at the seventh seed and they're on a hot streak. They started off the season pretty bad because Joe Burrow was injured in preseason, or I believe in training camp actually.
Yeah.
He never played a single down in preseason, so they were pretty rusty to start the season. But now they're starting to hit their stride, Craig. They look pretty good.
Yeah, I mean, because I feel like that's like the Bengals thing, getting off to a slow start, but at least, like I said, with hitting their stride, they've got, tons of winnable games. They're probably and like not just winnable games, like they're better than a lot of teams they're playing. Like they should sweep the Steelers. They probably should beat the Chiefs again, but we'll see.
They're on a 4 game win streak after starting 1-3.
And again, they're all against, better teams. Like I know two of them are out of conference, but they still handled those
The only
teams.
thing that will really hurt them is the way they started and who they lost to. The 0-2, not terrible, but they lost to two divisional opponents back to back to start the year. That could end up biting them in the behind later on, but right now, as I said, they're 5-3. They have Houston next week. That's a winnable game for them. So I'm personally rooting for the Bengals to go all the way. I'm not a Bengals fan, but I do like Joe Burrow. I like the team. I would love to see them go back to Super Bowl and win it because they should have won it the first time.
Yeah, but Craig's favorite coach, Sean McVay, had to win it.
It wasn't even him, it was the team because then it feels like, oh God, yeah, made you play the Patriots the first time. Let's give you a do-over.
Well, we spent, how much money on to, building this ridiculous stadium for a team that's probably not going to even be
Couple
there in 10
billion.
years. Yeah,
They can't
for a
fill it.
team.
I think I said, Craig, in our prediction, I don't think the Jaguars are going to be that good. Well, right now they're 6-2.
I still
I
stand
still
by
stand
that.
by. Yeah, I was gonna say I still stand by that. They're not convincing, really. Yes, they swept the Colts, but they lost to the Chiefs. They lost to the Texans. They didn't lose. They lost by 20 points.
They
And
always play bad against the
a lot of their
Texans.
wins are close wins. Except like the Colts when they beat them by 17 that week. They could have gone overtime against the Saints, but Derek Carr had to play terrible the first half and then blame everybody else. But him,
Don't
they
forget, just check it down to Alvin Kamara the whole game.
well that too. They play the
They,
Niners next week, so I guess you could say their schedule gets really tough in the second half. They have to go to San Francisco. They play the Titans again. Who knows what that? They go to at Houston. They play the Bengals, the Browns, the Ravens, the Buccaneers. You never know. The Panthers. That should be a win.
Easy
And then they
W.
finish the season at the Titans. So it gets tougher for them. I don't like their offense. I hate the checkdowns. I hate the quick bubble screens and whatnot. That's all they do, and it's so annoying to watch.
Because again, this is what the NFL. I don't think it's what they want, but like they want offense, but like it's just like I think it's just hard to watch. Like I don't want to watch the Jaguars offense.
It is the Patriots 2.0. The
What?
short screens and the passes that are no one wants to cover and play up close.
Yeah, I mean, if you literally do a nickel or dime package and do a cover one against the Jags, you will probably they probably won't score more than 10 points against you. It's not like two. It's not like they're this like rushing threat. I know ETN's a good running back, but it's not like they're this juggernaut of a rushing offense either.
Yeah, could it be a reverse of last year where they started off terrible and then made a late season run? I mean, it could very well happen. They're just lucky that they play in a bad division. The AFC South is not good this year.
But they're also lucky too
I
that
mean,
like
it's better than I
defensive
think people give it
defensive
credit for.
Oh yeah,
coaches.
yeah, that too.
Yeah, they're lucky all these defensive coordinators are just such idiots.
Oh, Gus Bradley.
Well, there's like how many all these guys like they no one ever just these coaches want to like do back up early in the game like on the first drive like be aggressive and early because then you give more time to make your adjustments.
One of the bigger shockers of the year so far is CJ Stroud looks pretty good. Again, it's his rookie year. Anything can happen for the rest of the season. Anything can happen next year when people adjust, just like what happened to RG3. You don't want to crown that guy too early, but for someone who is he's from Ohio State, correct? They don't produce good
Yeah.
quarterbacks at all. Justin Fields, he looks pretty decent. They're 4-4 right now, the Texans, and I think the Jaguars are going to make it to the playoffs. I don't think anyone else in that division is.
Oh yeah, no, they'll take the division easily.
But
Then
I
again,
guess
I think they're
if
better
you're,
than people give it credit for.
I think if you're a Texans fan, the future does look more bright. I guess you could say they still have a lot of work to do because they are 4-4. They lost a lot of winnable games. So
But the fact that they're even in these games, you could look at this and be like, well, they're a young team.
yeah,
They're getting all these new personnel. These are games that once you get your full unit, you win these games. But you're a young team. You have, like you're saying, you have hope.
yeah.
So
CJ
it's
Stroud looks good. I don't want to say he looks legit because again, everyone has lived through RG3. Everyone thought he was the second coming of Christ. And then he got hurt at the end of his rookie year, and then he was never the same. Everyone adjusted to the read option. So you don't want to say that, but he looks promising. The Colts are currently 4-5. They're third in their division.
Colts are in limbo.
Yeah, they have Minshew starting because Anthony Richardson got hurt, I
Yeah.
believe, he got hurt in week 5.
And Ursa just shut it
Titans.
down immediately.
Yeah, their defense is terrible. They've given up 242 points this
Which
year,
it's
which is
surprising that their offense isn't the problem.
it's the most in their division. It's the most, I believe, in the AFC. Yeah, it's the most in the AFC. Might be the most in the league. No, the Commanders have more. Bears have the same amount. Yeah, so it's up there. Their defense is terrible. Gus Bradley is terrible. Uh,
You're
this
telling
year's
me one of the guys with like the worst head coaches in NFL history is terrible at his coordinator job too?
what should have
No.
been a kind of a season that the Texans are having, where they have the ups and downs with the rookie. Uh, Anthony Richardson looked okay in the start of the season, but again, he got injured. So next year is technically still going to be his rookie year. You got to work those kinks out, unfortunately.
But again, like I remember we were watching him play, and like they seemed to be so afraid of like having him throw the
They
ball
kept
down the
him on
field.
such a tight leash. It was like they wouldn't let him throw down the field at all. It was
I
horrible. But then then they bring in Uncle Rico, and then they're getting pass happy. Like the dude's throwing 55 times in one game. Like that should be flipped. The rookie should be throwing more. Like you got to let these kids make mistakes early. So when they actually have something to look at on film, you're not just going, "Oh, yeah, next time we're going to put your check down on this side." They don't learn that way. You have to let them make mistakes. Like literally look at and I know it's you're comparing him to who we're going to be comparing him, but look at Peyton, look at Luck. They both made a crap ton of. They both led the league in turnovers their rookie years, and then the next year, both of them halved their turnovers. They literally cut them in half because you spend the entire off season going through film and then you also practicing and you learn. You got to let them be aggressive, but
But I don't think it's even just that. I mean, they were afraid to have him like even like throw the ball down the field. Like it's not even
yeah,
just because those
yeah,
guys could be a pro NFL quarterbacks. I don't, I'm just worried he's not there. Like they
well,
drafted an athletic guy, but he's
we're
not gonna be able
worried
to
about
actually
him.
play
We're worried
quarterback.
about him throwing an interception, but we're not worried about running him, 10 times and putting him more at risk in his career and hurting him. And that happened because we want to keep running him like a running back instead of letting him throw.
Very odd.
Steichen, the jury's still out on him. When he had Richardson in, he again, it's too early to call it him, but he's made some very dumb decisions. He was way too conservative with Richardson, and now they're still too. They just signed Jonathan Taylor to the big deal, and they still won't really run him fully. I think they're starting to now, like trend in that right direction, but I don't know. He's better than Frank Reich, which isn't saying much.
Well, we'll get to him, but to finish off the AFC South, the Titans are 3-5, and they're also in a limbo spot. At least they have that rookie from the second round, Will Levis, starting. They're definitely going to get rid of Tannehill. I think this is last year on the contract.
I mean, they tried to get rid of
Honest.
him last year, but
Well,
they couldn't.
he's done as a starter. I think
Yeah,
if he's going to go anywhere, his only way of being a starter is like literally Gardner Minshew situation. Like he goes in and the kid that in front of him gets hurt
yeah.
and he has to play.
I think he is done. Will Levis looked okay. They're actually letting him throw deep. Big shock. Who did he play against? Throwing deep with D Hop.
It
Whose
was the
team was that? The
Falcons.
Falcons. Yes, they let him. They just said, "Go do whatever. Go nuts."
And he didn't look bad against the Steelers either.
Yeah, it's just again, I think because we talk in our fantasy league, like one of the guys picked up Will Levis, like dropped points on him. It's like let's he's just a rookie. Let's not think somebody's doing this every week.
He
Just
got like
gonna
7 points the next week.
yeah.
I think it's still funny though that they have given up on Malik Willis, someone that they drafted last year, and at least they're like, you know what? We're not going to waste our time. We know what we got with this guy. We're not going to waste anything. Let's just continue and keep chopping that wood.
I know you said it's funny, but to me, it's always like just the smartest thing to do. Like you made a mistake. Let's not make it a multi-year mistake. Let's just move on.
How long do you think Vrabel is going to be around?
I
I mean,
think it's unfair to judge him because his GMs before have been so incompetent. They're not like
Well, no. I'm not saying like he's the problem. I'm just saying like how long do you think if the GM keeps making dumb decisions into next year, like does he just was like, yeah, I'm done.
I mean, well, I don't know. Okay, coaches really don't just like resign. I mean, I'm pretty sure they hold on to your rights even if you resign. He can't just like resign and leave.
Sean Payton did.
yeah, but they had to trade a first
Yeah,
round pick to get him.
yeah.
Yeah, but he still quit.
No, he did quit, but I just you can't just like quit and like leave your team. Like even Belichick, when he quit, they have to trade for him. So I mean, he can quit, but like I don't know why he would.
Yeah, I feel for the guy because I think he's a really good coach, and the GM is just giving him absolutely nothing. Does anyone remember on draft day last year when the disgust on his face when they found out that they were trading AJ Brown? You could just see the disgust and anger he had.
Well, I remember too, like they for some reason didn't want to sign receivers to any big contracts. I remember they let Corey Davis go, but then they signed like Robert Woods, who's like at tore his ACL or something. Like they keep signing these old receivers instead of getting someone young.
They
They
signed
keep trying
Julio a
to.
couple years ago.
Yeah,
Well,
well, again, like
it's
they go after these old. They traded for him, didn't they?
Oh, they might have.
it's like these GM like you get some of these GMs like they try to you know like they're trying to build a Lamborghini with bike parts. Like they won't actually spend the money where they should spend the money. They try to like do all these you know quick moves and stuff like it's gonna pay off for them. Like they try to be sly about it. Like, oh, we'll sign an aging D Hop, but we won't keep AJ Brown, who is now like who right like is a top three receiver in the NFL.
Yeah, they're trying to find like bargain bin value, but it's like at
Yeah.
some point you got to actually have to spend money on something that's worth something.
Don't tell out to Chris Ballard.
Well, he's another idiot.
He gets his, Colin. He gets his tax write off for the money he doesn't even have. It's not even his money.
Okay, so we're gonna snake around. We just finished the AFC South, so let's start with the NFC South. The Saints have a new eye line wearing guy in town. His name is Derek Carr, Craig. And right now they are 5-4. They're sitting atop the NFC South, which is very bad this year. Where is my playoff picture thing? I just had a thing open.
Well, I remember I picked them to win the division because they just had the best team and they had probably the best quarterback. Some people try to like pick like
Yeah.
the Falcons or the Bucks. I'm like they aren't gonna win it.
Does anyone
Well,
think
the
that Arthur
Falcon.
Smith might get fired this year?
I'd be surprised because I feel like he's not the problem, but he's also investing in terrible quarterbacks.
Yeah, like Heineke.
Did he pick Desmond Ritter or did the GM pick Desmond Ritter?
It's probably a
I,
collaborative effort.
yeah, I'm pretty sure you got to say it.
I mean, I don't really have much to say about the Saints. It's just that they're kind of just there, you know.
I mean, I think they're finally gonna start hitting a stride soon.
None of the, I think I will say this: none of the NFC South teams, whoever makes the playoffs, will not be going deep at all.
Oh, that's
They're
obvious.
probably a first round exit.
I mean, it's
Because
not like
they'll
their
well
schedule's
because
difficult.
because they'll probably the winner the Saints. You figure it's the Saints, or they'll probably get what, the fourth seed, so they'll play the best wildcard team, which is a better team than they are. They'll probably be like the Cowboys, and they'll
Yeah.
probably get romped, and then the Cowboys will go to the Niners and then lose there.
Well, right now the Niners are the third seed, but we'll get to them in a little bit. Falcons, we just kind of talked about. They're 4-5 right now. They're like in limbo again. They have Heineke and Desmond Ritter, who's looked pretty terrible.
I mean, he looked so bad last year. I thought they were gonna move on, but they're like, oh, he's our guy, and then they're
We like
benching
our
him already.
guys.
Speaking
And
of liking their
they just
guys,
refuse to use Kyle Pitts.
and Cordell Patterson.
Yeah, they you have these good weapons that you just stare at them and do nothing with it.
That's what they imagine the Falcons actually had a competent quarterback. They have talent on offense.
Yeah. I mean, this division is just the worst in the yeah, I would say
Yeah.
it's the worst. Yeah. The next team, 3-5, are the Baker Buccaneers. They are currently 3-5, as I said, and they actually just came off of a close loss that they should have won against the
Two close
Texans.
losses.
Well, yes, they started the season 3-1, but then after their bye week, they have lost four straight. They have lost to the Lions 20-6. They lost to the Falcons 13-6. The Bills 18-24, which they could have won that too. And yeah, the Texans, just two brutal losses. If only he
And
had
they
Tom's
lost to the
luck.
Texans, who didn't have a kicker.
That too. If only they had Tom's luck to get them a couple of wins that they shouldn't get. And I feel bad for Baker after how the Browns handled everything with him. He did not deserve that either.
No,
But
but he's also just not good.
yeah, he's not. They did wear their creamsicle uniforms this year, and they lost while wearing them. Pretty cool. Pretty cool.
Oh, that's what they were known for.
That's true. The 0-26. And we want to talk about Daniel's guy, Frank Reich. First
That's
quarterback
right.
of the Panthers in their franchise history, I believe, was it? Or he was the first guy to throw a touchdown. Whatever the case may be, I guess you could say this is a homecoming to him, but it's a nightmare homecoming because the Panthers right now are 1-7. They are the worst team in the league by all metrics and all power rankings people put out there. They are just abysmal. Frank Reich even had to give up play call duties because of how bad they were.
I'm pretty sure that he's gonna
uh,
scapegoat the guy.
Yeah, they started the season 0-6, got their first one against the Texans and a 15-13 win. And then yeah, they lost against the Colts just past weekend. And they're
Kenny
playing
Moore was their
tomorrow,
best receiver.
or they're playing this week on Thursday night. Yeah, Kenny Moore picked off Bryce Young two times for two touchdowns, and he has the same amount of touchdowns thrown to him Bryce Young has thrown the same amount of touchdown passes, which is two, to Adam Thielen on the team. So Kenny Moore joins that illustrious company too. Yeah, I don't know what to say to them. They're just not good. The people who tried to defend Frank Reich when he got fired midseason last year probably feel stupid right now because this is his offense. This is his fingers are all over it, and they look terrible.
Well, I remember too, like
Yeah.
during the offseason, they kept like hyping up his coaching staff, like, "Oh God, look at all these people, so many like veteran coaches." Like, do you wonder why their veteran coaches like don't have jobs?
Yeah,
Like
they
they
Yeah.
always got Jim
Yeah.
Caldwell. It's like, you wonder why he's available?
is he on the team?
Yeah, you got Dom Capers. You wonder why he's available?
No, they don't. Where's Dom Capers? Oh yeah, he's the senior defensive assistant. They got D'Angelo Hall as assistants DB coach. They got Todd Walsh, okay, defensive line. They got some guy's name I can't even pronounce as the DC. Parks
Ejiro
Frazier.
Evero.
Yeah, Parks Frazier,
What
the
the hell
offensive
is
coordinator last year for the Colts. Jim Caldwell's a senior assistant, yeah.
what the hell is a senior assistant?
Josh
I don't know.
McCown is the quarterback's coach. Just a bunch of winners they have there. Yeah, it really shows. Yeah, I don't think Frank Reich will get fired because I think that's too, I want to say evil, but
No,
you
because
can't
that's
fire a
that's
guy
no,
after 1 year.
well, also too because he has the excuse of, oh, it's a rookie quarterback. We're
But I
growing.
have heard that the owner, he has a very short fuse and temper, so there is a chance he might actually get
Oh, I
fired.
think.
Well, I
Well, no,
think the
I
owner has
think
to realize
think
that
he gets
having,
fired.
there you
I
go.
think he gets fired early. I think if they like do, if they're 0-6 to start next year, I think he gets fired midway through the season. Probably more realistically, probably he gets fired after next season when they don't go more than like 6 wins.
What I was going to say is, I don't know what the owner's expecting. You can't fire someone after 1 year unless they're kicking players and going to bars after losses. You can't do that because it's like, how do you expect to even try to build anything if you fire a guy after 1 year? It's counterintuitive, honestly. At least if you pick the right guy and they have a bad first year and then you fire them, it's counterintuitive. Then
I
you're
know
right
what you're
back
I
to
saying,
think
but
you're right
at
back
the
to
same
square
I
one.
think
time,
I think he has 2 years.
I don't know. I mean, if they like only have one game, one win to end the year, I do think there's a good chance they get fired. He gets fired. I know
I
what you're
mean,
saying. It wouldn't
I
make
would
sense,
for
but if he's that bad,
Frank's sake, I hope he gets fired, and I hope he only wins one game. I don't like him. He's an okay person, I guess. I don't know him personally, but as a coach, he's terrible, and it shows. The fact
You
that
know, his
he
claim to fame was he was the OC of the 2017 Eagles, but again, he wasn't calling the plays. Weird how their offense was successful and he wasn't calling the plays.
yeah, his stinky fingers were over the plays. Panthers are the
He
worst team in the
might.
league, so yeah.
I mean, the
Or-
only thing
Good
I'll say
luck.
he did positive for the Colts was that he was, I guess, helpful that they didn't hire Josh McDaniels.
Yeah, that's the only good thing that came out of that. The
Didn't know
NFC,
Josh McDaniels back. No, Josh McDaniels backed out of that.
well, yeah, then they went to Reich.
Yes, but I
Yeah,
mean,
right.
imagine they
Right.
tried to
Right. Didn't
like,
say. Yeah.
yeah, I know,
Whatever the case
trying
may
to say
be,
something positive.
for the NFC North, Craig and Daniel, the Lions are 6-2, which is
I'd said that they would get the division.
I
I
think
wouldn't
we
be
all said that
surprised.
honestly, because the
The
Vikings
only
are
team
right
that would
behind 5-4, the Packers are 3-5, and the Bears are 2-7. Yeah, the Vikings are the only team that are realistically the only one that can really give them any problems.
they got journeyman Josh Dobbs.
Yes, but the
Which
Lions look,
loss?
besides that one loss to the Ravens, they look pretty good. Again, it's an out of
Yeah.
conference loss. It doesn't really matter in the grand scheme of things. But I would root for the Lions too. They haven't won anything. They deserve it.
Motor City, Dan Campbell.
Yeah, MCDC. They play the Chargers next, then the Bears, the Packers, the Saints, the Bears again, the Broncos, the Vikings, the Cowboys, and the Vikings again. Realistically, that's all winnable games. That really
And the
is.
Lions can end at the 2 seed in the NFC.
Yeah,
Yeah.
realistically, they could. Now, the Lions are an example of sticking with the coach and trying to build something positive there because MCDC's first year was pretty bad. He went 3-13-1. Then year two, they went 9-8. They ruined the Packers' chances of getting the playoffs. And now they're sitting at 6-2. Now, whether or not he can keep the team winning is another discussion, but you can really see at least keeping one guy and then building on that every year. Picking the right guy, I should say. It all depends on the right guy you have.
But again, like the Lions, their first like his first year with them, like they obviously didn't win a lot of games, but I feel like with the Panthers now, like they're just
They,
pathetic and like they're losing games that they're just not playing well. At least the Lions when Dan came, they were at least much more competitive. They were in most of the games. They just weren't
yeah,
in
they
there
lost a
yet.
lot of close games that year. They could have easily had like seven, 7 wins that year.
Yeah. That's why like for the Lions, like I can see why like they held on. Like there was at least hope that if we could just get it together,
Like,
we could, we
of
lost a
course,
lot of close games.
of course, their one tie that year was to the Steelers.
Parasites. I think I said last year they had the great second half and they're still riding that high.
Yeah, good for them. They deserve it. Jared Goff is playing well. The whole team is playing well. Good for them. Except some questionable coaching decisions have gone, especially in the win against the Raiders. A lot of dumb, questionable decisions by the Lions staff, but
Well, that
hopefully
that
they
that's
get it
just the way the
together.
NFL is now.
Yeah, hopefully they get it together. The Vikings, as I said, are 5-4, and Kirk Cousins is out for the year. He tore his Achilles, unfortunately, a couple of weeks ago. The Vikings GM is
Yeah, he's probably
probably
doing
so
backflips.
happy right now, but they're not going to do anything. The Vikings, they have that. Yes, they're riding high with the one win with Josh Dobbs, who just showed up, but that's not sustainable. He's not good. They're not going to win a lot of games, especially without Kirk now.
But again, like I know we talked about this before, but like I don't know why the GM hates Kirk Cousins so much. He's a top 10 quarterback in the league, which don't grow on trees. He keeps saying, "Oh, if we don't have Patrick Mahomes, we're never going to win, so why bother trying?" Which I think is a very dumb and loser mentality, and I would not want that guy running my team.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Kirk doesn't deserve the hate he gets.
Oh, he never does.
The
But like I just think the mentality of like not wanting to win if we don't have the superstar quarterback is stupid. Like how many teams have won Super Bowls without the best quarterback in the league? Almost every
lots,
year.
yeah, lots and lots.
I know you don't think they're going to win a lot of games, Colin. I'm going to do a hot take. I think they get the seventh seed. I think they
It's
get.
possible.
I
That
think so.
could
Only
The
be
count them
NFC
out.
is not that strong.
that could be
I
the
mean,
Seahawks.
Seahawks are
the
the fifth
Seahawks can
seed.
get no. Seahawks will get the six. Yeah, they'll get the fifth. No, they'll get the sixth seed behind Dallas, and the Vikings will take the seventh seed.
Oh, that's true. I mean, the Commanders are 4-5. You never know. Some weird
I mean,
things.
Yeah, but the
I
Commanders are
wouldn't count
the
them out.
Commanders are giving up on their season though.
That's true.
Like they beat the lowly Patriots after they just traded
I'm
all their
just
best
saying
players. They
that
won't hold up.
the the difference between Kirk Cousins and Josh Dobbs
Oh, I
is
100%. I
measurable.
100% agree. I 100%
That
agree.
you can't
But
win games with being that handicapped at a quarterback.
Josh Throbs, baby.
Well, speaking of being handicapped at quarterback, fellas, the Packers are 3-5. They finally got rid of Rodgers. They wanted to get rid of him. There's a whole offseason drama. And now what do they have in their hands? They have a 3-5 record where they look terrible. Jordan Love looks terrible in his first year as a starter. Now,
Craig has been doing cartwheels all this year. And finally can do his cartwheels after all his criticism of Matt LaFleur and his beautiful eyebrows.
yes.
Well, I've been saying this for years. Like, you just ride the coattails of Aaron Rodgers. Like, he was not a good coach. Every time he had to make a decision that affected the outcome of the game, he picked the wrong decision.
Yeah, I mean, this is the guy that, you can't, the Packers can't be mad. They wanted this to happen, essentially. They
Yeah,
wanted
they
to
got
get
rid
rid
of.
of Rodgers. They wanted to draft him, even though the Packers just came off of a championship loss where their defense gave up something crazy like 200 yards at halftime, 200 rushing yards at halftime. Yeah, let's draft a quarterback. That could go well. I don't feel bad for them at all. First off, since 1992, they had two Hall of Famers back to back. And now that they finally have a bad quarterback, or I guess you could say right now, unproven, I don't feel bad for them. They wanted this. They get what they deserve.
It's not unproven. He's bad. He
Yeah,
sucks.
he's not good, but it's his first real season playing as a starter. So
But I do think it's a bit concerning. Like, you've been on the bench for 3 years, taking time to learn, and like, I feel like you're making like rookie mistakes.
yeah, from Aaron Rodgers no less.
And again, like we always talk about, I guess maybe not us, but people like Huckins always talk about like the egos of players and stuff. Like coach, you gotta be unselfish, but like they never seems to ever apply to management. Like I think Brian Gutekunst or whatever his name is an idiot and he has a huge ego. He's like, I don't want Aaron Rodgers. I want to take all the credit for the winning, and he's gonna blow up the team, and he's probably gonna get fired because he wanted to be the guy running the show, and he can't do it. I
Which
mean, if the
I don't know
Packers just,
why he's like so bitter towards Rodgers. He's been with the team since 1998. He's been there a long time.
I don't get it, but he's not doing his job. I mean, the Packers have not been drafting well,
No, they have not.
so it's like, I mean, again, you get all these draft picks. What does it matter if you miss on every single one of them?
Well, yeah, because I mean, that Packers in the early 2010s should have been somewhat of a dynasty.
But he wasn't the GM then. He
It was Ted Thompson.
Well, what? Thompson. When did
but
this
he
guy?
was good.
What was
The
this guy
teams were
before
talented
him?
under him. He joined,
He
I think, 2018.
2018, yeah, because Ted Thompson stepped down because
He was dying.
he had a neodegenerative disease or something. He
He
suffered from
did.
an
Was that why he could?
autonomic disorder. Yeah, well, he passed away in 2021.
Oh,
But
jeez.
yeah, geez, Craig, you're heartless over there.
No, I'm not saying. I said he's dead. Like, but I'm more like going after Gutekunst or whatever his
Yes,
name
this
is,
guy is blowing up the Packers. This once
just
proud franchise.
just for his ego, because he wants to be the guy who gets all the credit.
Well, he's not going to be winning anything anytime
Well,
soon
he'll
with
he'll
Matt
get all the
LaFleur.
credit for the wrong reason, though.
The Bears are 2-7, fellas. They're the worst team in their division. One of the worst teams in the
Second,
NFC.
second worst team in the NFC.
They're a hot mess. They're just terrible. What's going to happen with Matt Eberflus, fellas? What do you think is going to happen to him?
Probably fire. I mean, if I imagine if it's as poorly run as we think they are going to try to salvage Justin Fields and bring in a new coach. If they do that, they are
Another
just so screwed.
Matt Eberflus, another great offensive mind the Colts had.
Defensive.
He was defensive?
Yeah,
Yeah,
he's their
he was
DC.
defensive coordinator.
Oh, I'm never mind.
Who are you
Mixed
thinking
up
of?
him and Sirianni.
Oh, yeah, yeah. But yeah, they're 2-7 right now. They started the
Sorry,
season
it's the CTE
0-4.
kicking in.
You know what's kind of funny is that the Bears had a chance to get rid of Fields. They had the first overall pick, correct? And then
Yeah.
they traded it to the Panthers. Realistically, they could have gotten Stroud. They could have gotten Bryce Young. At least those guys are better passers than Justin Fields because he's just atrocious.
But again, like I feel like they'll probably feel like, oh, we invested a first round pick in this guy. We gotta try to save him. It's like if you're smart, you just move on. I don't think he's got it. There's nothing he's shown to me that he can do it as a passer. Yeah, he can run, but how long's that gonna last?
Yeah, that's not sustainable play if your quarterback is only good at running.
But
That's not
I
good.
just can't believe what I'm hearing when Justin Fields received an MVP vote.
Yeah,
did he really?
whatever. Yeah, he did.
Jesus. I remember like
Yeah.
during the offseason, people were
He
saying he's
paid
gonna be
him.
like an MVP favorite. I'm like, I don't know what football they're watching, but
More MVP votes than Russell Wilson, funny enough.
Yeah, more MVP votes than you, Craig. Keep hating on him. And when he takes the MVP this year,
So the 49ers are leading the NFC West. They're 5-3. They start off the season really well, and now they've been hit some losses that they should have won games. Daniel, I know you're a strong critic of Brock Purdy. Why don't you explain yourself?
hey, he's
now
Jimmy G 2.0. He's Jimmy G 2.0. I mean, I know everyone was riding high on him because he came in last year. Was he 5-6-0 as a starter?
I believe 5-0
Right.
in the regular season, and
Well, that's what I mean. It's like in the regular season.
yeah,
Um, and everyone, it was the whole hit Mr. Irrelevant. He was the last,
all he does is
he
just
was the
win.
last pick. Yeah. Well, that's the thing is that he was again another quarterback put in literally the perfect situation. You have a top five defense, you have a loaded offense, a coach who's very good at calling offenses minus in the second half of Super Bowls. So yeah, you were in. He was in a perfect situation, but my criticism is he's not a good thrower. He doesn't have a good arm. He's not that accurate. I don't think he's that accurate. He's Jimmy G all over again because a lot of times even on slants you'll see him throw behind the guy. And you saw this year when Debo went down for a bit, McCaffrey isn't taking off or he isn't there that you can check it down to him 20 times in a row. He struggles, Purdy. Now the Browns game I won't blame him for. Because well, actually, you know
He
what?
didn't
He
play
did
well at
have
all.
it. No, yeah, he had a shot to lead them down and win it regardless, but he did not play well at all in that game. I there's a reason he was drafted dead last in the draft.
But again, like
And
he was drafted dead, like he was the last pick, but at the same time, like he did better on certain tests than like a lot of the guys drafted ahead of him.
I mean, as much as we're criticizing him, we can at least commend the 49ers for realizing that the Trey Lance experiment was not working at all, because apparently he couldn't even do the quick reads that are required in the Shanahan offense. So they got rid of him. At least as they learned from their mistake, they're
jeez,
like, get this guy out of
how
here.
bad are you that you can't go through checkdowns and slants properly?
At least Brock Purdy can mostly do
No,
that. That's why they're
Brock
rolling
Purdy.
with him.
That's why Brock Purdy flourishes in this system because Shanahan has like laid out like who you're throwing to, and they're usually short passes with the exception of like when they kind of get a little desperate and they start throwing to Kittle over the middle.
Yeah, the Niners right now are suffering a 3-game losing streak, but 2 of those 3 losses are to AFC teams. Yeah, they lost to the Bengals by 14. They lost to the Browns, which they should have won. They lost to the Vikings, so uh, I don't know.
Yeah,
They'll be in the playoff
where's
hunt.
yeah, where's your savior McCaffrey now, Craig?
I don't love McCaffrey.
Yeah, they're right
Disgusting.
now. They are the 3rd seed in the playoffs because they're leading the division, but right behind them are the Seahawks at 5-3. They're also coming off a terrible loss to the Ravens, who blew them out of the waters. Now, the Seahawks are another team that I don't know what to make of them. I
I mean,
think I think can be good at times and they can be really bad at times. I
I
guess you could
mean,
say
that
is that
Geno.
they're inconsistent. Yeah, I'm not a believer in Geno. The fact that he's playing well this late in his career is concerning, considering the fact that he was, I believe, a 2nd round pick. He, you know, it shouldn't take someone this long to play well at all in the NFL, especially if you're a quarterback. Yeah, he had one good year. He's having a decent year this year. I don't know what to make of Geno. I really don't.
I mean, again, this is what we say. Like a lot of quarterbacks go to bad situations and play bad. Like the Jets, weren't quarterback friendly when he was drafted. Then he bounced around as a backup. Then he finally got his chance after a few years in Seattle. And he was playing well, but again, at the same time, it's like I don't think he's gonna take you over the hump. I think they probably should have tried to find a quarterback in the draft to develop. 'Cause I know they signed him for a few years, but again, I don't think he's the answer.
Yeah, and I guess you could say you want some sort of a veteran experience per se, because yes, he's been in the league for a long time, but he hasn't been a starter for a long time prior to 2022. The last time he started consistently was 2014, because then he would play here and there. He'd start a game or two here, but starting consistently, yeah, 2014. And you want that kind of veteran leadership in the playoffs. He has none of that, so
I mean, his numbers even for 8 games is not good
yeah, 9
with
touchdowns,
that
7
talented of an
picks
offense, and he's only throwing 1,800 yards.
with a 65% completion percentage. So I think the Seahawks will probably be where they were last year, like a 9-8, 10-7
Yeah, they'll
fringe
probably like
team.
like I said, they'll get the 6th seed. They'll be right in front of the Vikings and right behind the Dallas, but there'll probably be like a 2 or 3 game disparity between them and Dallas.
The Rams are 3-6, and I love every minute of it. Uh, I don't like the Rams. I don't like the NFL pushing them, and they deserve this.
But yeah, a
Right?
lot of it's their own stupidity. I mean,
You're
after they
just
won
you're
that
just
Super
jealous of
Bowl,
Sean McVay's cool haircut.
I'm not. I'm not at all, actually.
like after they won the Super Bowl, they gave out all these contracts to like, all their star players and like, they have no draft picks. a lot of money and veterans who aren't playing. I mean, it's a recipe for disaster. Plus, Sean McVay was like, should I quit on the team like Sean Payton? Well, I don't be that much of a jerk, so I'm going to stay.
Yeah, his people are going to be looking back at his coaching tenure differently. Where it's like, yeah, they did well when they sold out, but when it came to developing talent and developing in-house talent, not so much. Because now you have this disaster where you're 3-6. They're playing Seattle. They have a bye week this week, but they're playing Seattle, which they could lose, even though they beat Seattle week 1. They're playing the Cardinals. They definitely won that. But then they're playing the
I don't think.
Browns and the Ravens. So they have a tough schedule.
And also, if Stafford doesn't come back right away,
Yeah, they signed Wentz
have
recently, so
yeah.
two
Well, so now they
sprains
have a
he's coming back.
now they have a scapegoat. Two
Yeah.
sprains.
Cardinals are.
Well, now they have
Oh,
they have
you
a
go. You go.
scapegoat.
Cardinals are the
Well, I was
second
gonna
worst
say,
team in the NFL. Yeah, you go.
but that's too. I was just gonna say that with Wentz there, that McVay and that the NFL has its scapegoat. So if
Oh
anything
yeah.
goes wrong,
I mean,
He's the reason why the
Jim
Rams can't
Irsay's
get any
probably
fans.
seething hearing that he's back in the NFL.
Wentz is probably the reason Damar Hamlin dropped last year.
Oh, jeez. Well, the Cardinals are 1-8, and they're pretty bad. Rich
And
Gannon's first year. It was kind of expected because Kyler wasn't playing. Not that he's great at all, but he's better than whenever they're trotting out.
It's also what they wanted. Like they were pretty open about tanking, trying to like trade away as many players as they can for draft picks.
Are they going to want to get Caleb Williams? Are they going to fall for that trap where they'll trade Kyler as collateral or something?
I'm 100%. I'm 100% certain they want him.
Well,
Well,
rest in peace, Kyler.
the thing is if they're gonna try to trade up for that top pick, like who are the other teams are gonna be? The Bears and the Panthers. They're not. You can't trade Kyler to them.
You could probably trade him to the Bears, honestly.
But the Bears. But if this kid
But
Baggett
it's also
does
the
well
contract.
enough,
Like you're not just getting Kyler Murray, you're getting his
yeah.
like 45 million a year
And
contract.
well, and also if you're the Bears, like, well, why would we take Kyler when we have a shot at a top 2 prospect? We'd
That's
rather
true.
spend the money. The money, at least if the rookie doesn't work out, you can just cut him before, by the end of his rookie contract. You just don't re-sign him.
Yeah, they're another
And
team that's
also,
like in limbo.
the rookie actually might look at film.
Yeah. Kyler's such an idiot.
Well, they're also. I mean, the Cardinals. I would say the bigger. They signed this guy. They didn't have to. Like, and this part too is like they didn't. They knew all the problems that he had, like not watching film, and they still chose to sign him.
Well, Craig, the fact that they had to have a stipulation in the contract saying you have to watch X amount of film per week should have been like they didn't do that to make fun of him. They did it for a reason. And everyone was like criticizing him for
It
it.
was kind, it was kind of like when the Raiders, Jamarcus Russell, where the coach handed him just a blank CD, and like was like, "Oh, did you watch the film?" And he goes, "Yeah." So there was nothing on it.
Yeah.
I don't get it.
I don't know how you can make it to that professional level and just be so lazy. Like it's your livelihood. What's wrong with you?
No, bro, I got to play COD all the time.
Yeah, what a loser. Well, let's get to our last team that we're going to cover today because it's the last division, the NFC East, where the Eagles are again leading the NFL or the NFC. They're the top seed. They're 8-1.
But they don't look as strong as they do last year as the number 1 seed.
Yeah, they could have easily lost week 1 against the Patriots. I still think they're probably going to end up
They
snagging
should have
the
lost to
1
the
seed.
Cowboys.
Well, yeah, but they do look more
No, they'll
formidable.
probably they'll definitely get the number 1 seed, but they're not as like last year. It seemed like they were running through teams more. Like this looks like they've slowed down.
I mean, but they do have a tough stretch ahead. They've got Chiefs, Bills, Niners, Cowboys, and Seahawks all in a row. I mean,
Yeah, I mean,
who
Oh
knows?
my god!
this is where
Wait,
a good team can solidify itself as one of the NFL's best. So
I'm guessing is that Chiefs game. I'm guessing it's like a Sunday night.
I think it's a
I
four
think it's
It's
o'clock.
Monday night.
Oh, it's Monday
It's
night?
Monday night.
Oh,
Oh my god! They're gonna. I guarantee they're gonna like keep replaying that holding call in the Super Bowl.
I guess real quick. Even I know it's technically a revenge game, but it's not at the same time because even if the Eagles beat them, it's like we still beat you in the Super Bowl. Like it's not the same.
Well, that's why I never understood. Like when people talk about revenge games, like to me, you can only get revenge if you can dish it out like what they did to you. Like if you could beat them in the Super Bowl, then you got revenge.
Or if you beat them in the playoffs.
Yeah, like
Yeah,
if
like you
Dallas
knock them
actually
out.
manages to beat the Niners in the playoffs, that's revenge.
I mean, sort of. I mean,
Kind of. But
yeah.
beating the Chiefs, the team that you lost in the Super Bowl, in the regular
The
season
game.
is meaningless. It won't ever add up to the Super Bowl loss.
Yeah, that's why again people say, "Oh, it's a revenge game." Like again, I don't know what you're getting revenge on. They still won the Super Bowl.
They beat you when it mattered the most on the biggest stage of the NFL
And
season.
Yeah.
and really the Eagles. And the thing is, the Eagles should get revenge on themselves. They beat themselves in the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
But anyway,
Beautiful.
yeah. It's not a revenge game.
I just hate that
It's a
stupid
regular season.
storyline.
I was actually going to mention that too because I hate hearing that as well.
Yeah, it
Yeah,
means
they'll
nothing.
talk.
It's
Well,
just
they'll talk about
nonsense.
that. They'll talk about that, and they'll keep showing the holding call. The
And
NFL
speaking of
should have
teams
let it
beating
play out. No, if
themselves,
a penalty's
Yeah.
committed, you don't let the play. Yeah.
Dallas is 5-3. They could have had a win against the Eagles.
I
Dallas
mean,
is they're the same. Like they'll make the playoffs, but they'll probably lose in embarrassing fashion. It's the same thing every year with
The
this team.
Niners.
I will say they got screwed. Remember, I don't know if you guys saw, but like that touchdown they called short. They said he was short because before the ball got there, his knee was down. So therefore, that's where if he caught it, that's where he's going to be marked down, not where his knee is when he has the ball.
This is against the Eagles, correct?
Yes. And I don't like either of these two teams, but the Cowboys got screwed with that because it's obviously an idiotic call.
Yeah, I mean that would have been big for the Cowboys. It would have been 6-2, and the Eagles would have been 7-2. But
I just don't get like the reason. Like, how could you be down before the ball even gets there?
yeah, that is a dumb rule.
It's not a rule. It's I think that's what they called. I guess
Oh,
to
is it?
just help the Eagles win.
Oh, well, like I said,
Just you're hating on the brotherly shove, Craig. All right.
Push, push.
Yeah, you better watch it, or Jalen Hurts will come over and because he squats 600 pounds, he'll lift your car up.
There's no way that midget can lift my car.
Well, with the brotherly shove, he can when he has 600 pounds of muscle pushing him and carrying him in the air.
all right. So the Commanders, they are 4-5 right now, and they're another team where they just traded away a bunch of their good defensive players. Chase Young they got rid of, who was a second overall pick. Hindsight, it kind of looks like a waste of the pick. He was always injured. He does have a Defensive Rookie of the Year award, but he hasn't done anything since because he hasn't played.
And they got rid of Montez Sweat.
Yeah, I forget where Montez Sweat went to, but Chase Young went to the
Bears.
Niners. He went to the Bears. Okay. This is probably going to be a year where the Commanders are just going to fire Ron Rivera, and this is what they wanted to. They want what's his name, Eric Bieniemy, to be the coach to follow after.
I don't
'Cause
know if they'll keep him.
I think he's already an assistant coach, right?
Yeah, I think he's the assistant head coach.
I think they'd probably keep him, honestly.
I'm not sure. I mean, there's a reason why no one's ever hired him.
I don't know. You might
Well, I know
because it's
that,
new
Craig, but the
ownership.
NFL is pushing him to get hired and get a head coaching job.
Yeah, but now he's not with the Chiefs anymore, so no one cares.
That's true.
And also too. Well, another thing too with the Redskins is that they may, well, they got new ownership,
Yeah,
so
Oh
they
yeah,
I
may
hate
the ownership
seeing
might.
Magic Johnson always tweeting about something
like
at the
he's
end of
the
every
minority
game.
owner.
Yeah,
Well, so I'm saying is with the new ownership, they may just clean house and just be like, yeah, we want our guys, and
Oh yeah,
we
because
don't
they
we
got
don't
the
like we,
team.
we don't like our current guys. We want like our guys.
Oh yeah, they got I think the sale went through like in the summer, so like, they really couldn't do anything before the season started.
and there's rumors that they might change their name again.
Also, Ron Rivera's terrible, so I mean, there's a reason why he's getting fired. It's
Well,
not just he's
yeah,
not their guy; it's he's not good.
I would like if they changed their name to the Pigskins. I think that could work. The Washington Pigskins. You can still call
Or the
yourself the
Washington.
Skins.
Well, I think a better one would be the Washington riots.
The
I think
Washington Dust Ups.
it would be funny if they just change it back to the Redskins. Like they just don't care. They just change it back to that.
See, like I said, I'm going to call them the Redskins. I'm dug in. I'm not changing the way I speak.
Well, the thing is they can't ever really get rid of the Redskins because they won all the championships as the Redskins. It's forever in their history. They have to recognize it.
Well,
Yeah.
watch. They'll change it retroactively.
Well,
Yeah.
because when we went to the Packers Redskins game last year and they brought out the what was it the 80 was it the 91 team the 87 team, right?
Oh, I have no idea. I remember it was one
I
of the
don't
Super
Remember
remember.
Bowls.
they like
It was one of their Super
yeah,
Bowls. I know that.
but they said like what this Redskins team they can't get rid of it anyway. To
Yes.
Colin and I, the team
Craig.
that Colin and I have to carry the fanship for.
Yes. The Giants are 2-7, and Craig, how about you air some of your frustration right now?
It's not even like frustration. It's like apathy. Like it's just been an absolute disaster. Everyone's getting hurt. Everything that could go wrong did go wrong.
Yeah, Craig, you've been a little quiet since your savior Daniel Jones has been single-handedly destroying the Giants organization.
It's funny because people want to put all the blame on him. And if you look at like any stats, you'd realize that he is obviously not part of the problem. Like I think he was getting pressured under 2 seconds on over half his dropbacks. He was on record on pace to break David Carr's sack record. He's got one of the worst receiving cores in the league, one of the worst offensive lines in the league. Saquon was gone most of the games he played, but it's all his
Oh
fault.
no, Craig, he's not on pace. He broke David Carr's record.
But that was the percentage, not the amount of sacks taken.
Well, yeah, but well, still that he still broke that record.
Yeah,
Percentage of getting sacked on dropbacks 15%.
yeah, because the season's over, but
He
people are
also he
looking
also got
towards
sacked more than he got. I think it was like close to 30 more sacks than Andrew Luck
the
in
same
his
amount of
tenure with
time.
the Colts. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, and people, dumb Giants fans want to get a new quarterback and always say, what's going to change? Nothing. You put a new guy back there, what do you expect to change? You put Tyrod back there, still gets sacked a lot. He's terrible.
The funny thing with the Giants, right, is like some teams put themselves in these bad situations because they make the wrong moves and they backfire. The Giants are trying to make the right moves, but they backfire. They've been trying to draft offensive line, but they just can't hit on it.
Yeah, every fat guy they draft can't block anybody.
Yeah. So it's like you can't even be mad and like,
Or
oh,
if
the
they do
Giants
draft
aren't.
somebody, they can't stay healthy, like Evan Neal,
Yeah.
right?
But it's funny, like Andrew Thomas they finally hit with Andrew Thomas. He was an all-pro last year,
Oh, that's the
but he's
guy
out
that,
the entire
yeah,
yeah,
the
he's
hamstring
out the
guy.
whole year with some magic hamstring injury that can't heal
Do you
because he got
think
his
he's
big
just? Do you
payday.
think he's just faking it because he got paid?
I'm 100% certain he was milking it.
He probably doesn't want to play right now with how bad the team is.
Yeah.
What a
Uh,
scumbag!
it's a shame that like a team like the Giant like they actually are trying to make the right moves and they just can't like even find or the one guy you do find doesn't even want to play. You know,
Because again,
maybe he should go to the same massage parlor that Deshaun Watson went. For his hamstring.
because again, if they don't draft offensive linemen like oh they draft Caleb Williams and that idiot who wants a ownership stake, well, nothing's
Yeah,
going
like
to
the
change. Like superstar quarterbacks aren't good because they're talented. They're good because they're on good teams. Very few exceptions like Peyton Manning just make the team better. Most guys are products of their environment.
it's
There's a reason
yeah.
why Brady went to the Buccaneers, who were stacked, and just had a guy throw 5,000 yards the year before. They just needed a guy
Yeah,
that wouldn't throw 30 picks. That's all they needed.
I mean, I think there's some hope. I mean, their drafting is better. Just gotta.
I mean, the big question, coming into this, now, well, not coming into this, well, actually, a part of it is, could Dayball replicate the success he had last year? And it's gone horribly wrong. And so now you wonder, you start questioning like Dayball's ability as a head coach, you know, because there's been inconsistent where he's taken over play calling like in the Cardinals game and other games, and they haven't just had much success. So you wonder too now, because what was it, Craig? You said Mara warned Dayball coming into
Yeah,
the
he says like, yeah, you're
season.
riding high now, but be careful. Like, things can quickly turn.
And boy, was he
Yeah,
right.
yeah. I mean, it's really just about next year because there was hope if they somehow should have beaten the Jets, but
I mean, I
apparently their
think,
kicker needed surgery.
I think with Dayball at least you have to give him one more year because
Oh
you could
yeah,
look
you
at
can't
this
fire
year.
him.
Yeah, because what Saquon missed a couple games with injuries. Daniel Jones' knee gave out under him. Your best offensive
He almost
lineman.
well before that, like he almost they were saying his career might be over because of the neck injury he got again
Yeah,
from getting sacked so many
yeah,
times.
yeah. Your best offensive lineman uh, just hasn't shown up at all. Now Darren Waller got put on IR. Collins' boy Paris Campbell hasn't shown up.
Yeah. Well,
So,
that was expected.
but it's one of so I think when you look at the season as an overall, like you can't put the entire blame on Dable. I don't think he's done anything to try to really do damage control. He hasn't helped the cause either. But I think as if like the Mara's gonna look at it and just be like, this entire thing was just a disaster. So I think it's like we'll give you an off season, try to fix, patch up some of the holes, and we'll see it from there.
I mean, they'll probably fire the special teams coach. He's been awful.
They
They'll
should also fire
probably,
Wink Martindale.
I mean, I think he's good enough to stay. It's more of you got to fire him, and probably Kafka's gonna go. I can't see them keeping him. I mean, they keep saying Dable keeps taking the
Who's
play sheet
who's their
from him.
who's their offensive line coach?
I have no idea, but he's probably
Because that
not
That
doing
that
too
guy
guy should
should
well.
get
go.
fired
Yeah, that
too.
guy's just robbing the team. Let me look it up.
It's Bobby
So
Johnson.
and you can't get if Jones fully heals, you can't get rid of him because you just signed him to this contract, and unless you can pawn him off on some other team. And I don't say it like he's a bum. I mean, like literally, like unless you can trade him, maybe if the Vikings don't draft a quarterback, maybe they'll take Daniel Jones.
But again, this comes from the fact like, what do you expect to change like with quarterbacks? Like, you put this Caleb
Oh
Williams like, oh,
no,
yeah,
we no we know it's
all of a sudden going to like
yeah.
give you more than 2 seconds of protection? Like,
It
it's
it's
insane.
it yeah. Well, it's just I would probably say like 75% of the fans are like the analyst or the NFL shrills like where it's like quarterbacks fix everything the NFL is just in this stage where quarterbacks are honestly probably the most overrated position, and they are important. But quarterbacks don't fix everything. It's not the same as a pitcher in baseball that can control an entire game or a goalie in hockey that can steal a game. Quarterbacks have to rely on it's the NFL has just blown it so out of proportion. Like quarterbacks, yeah, they get way more credit than they deserve for a win, and they get way too much blame when they lose. And so now fans and they get a new quarterback. This guy, that'll fix it.
Yeah, 'cause again, like, what is supposed to change? Like, is the offense not going to magically give them more than 2 seconds of protection
And you
because a
can't
new
and you
guy's
can't even
back there?
and you can't even say like with the Colts years ago. No, not even years ago. Like they're two out of their last three quarterbacks, right? Like when their O line was bad, you don't even have. It's not like with the Colts, like where you had an immobile aging quarterback that they can't even help out the O line because they're so when the O line's bad, it's you're done. Daniel Jones is a top three quarterback in speed, so their O line is so bad, like his athleticism can't even help them at all. So like trying to get the if probably some fans like oh get this guy he's really fast like speed isn't the issue, athleticism is the issue. It's just your O line is so bad.
Well, that's why I stress the sacks are pressures under 2 seconds because that's not Russell Wilson or Deshaun Watson holding on to the ball because their first read wasn't available and they start dancing around back there. This is, I get the ball, I'm getting under, I like some guy in the face about to get sacked me immediately. That's the more disturbing aspect of it, which again, fans don't want to talk about. They just want to put the blame on him and throw him, like dump him and find a new guy to sacrifice to the corn gods.
Yeah. Well then yeah, and then in 2 seasons when nothing changes, oh this guy sucks.
Yeah, it just repeat like again. That's what like the frustrating thing with like Eli. Oh, Eli's terrible. Eli's terrible. It's like, well, do you see the offensive line can't protect anybody? And
Yeah,
also
like
like
a Matt. Yeah,
they haven't had a receiver get like 1,000 yards since 2018. I mean, they have no receiving
I mean,
help.
Good God.
part of that too. Well, part of that too is because that stat you can't hold on to the ball for more than like 2 seconds. No one's getting open,
Yeah,
and then because you can't even because you can't hold on the ball long. You can't have deep routes. So then defenses can just come up and stack the box and cover all the short routes. So what do?
yeah. I mean
You're
that's
gridlocked.
why. Yeah, and even if people say, well, they're concerned, they're convinced he's not the answer. Fine, but at least could you build the team so the next guy who comes in isn't put in a horrible situation and gets killed?
I think you have to ride out Jones's contract, and in those years, if you want to, you want to go with that mindset. Okay, he's not the guy, but like you said, build for the future. Get an offensive line. Get the receivers. You can't even fully judge them because again, Wandale Robinson. They only throw him like stop routes because that's all they can throw him. And Saquon, who knows with him? I mean, if the team's that bad. Maybe you cut him, save some capital, and try to put more money into your
Well,
offensive
they don't even
line.
have to cut him. They could just let him go. Let him walk.
Oh no, that's what I meant. Like cut ties with him.
Oh.
I mean, like not, yeah, because they had the tag on him, so he'll go somewhere else. She'll probably go to like the Dolphins or the Niners. But
I mean, he wants to
um,
stay though, so I don't know. I don't really care what they do with him. I mean, I like him. I'm not be mad if
honestly,
he stays,
honestly,
but
honestly, if I'm the Giants, with the way the team is, I don't want him to stay. He's too much of an issue to worry about money with. And he's not fixing anything. Saquon's a good player, and in the right system, he will flourish. But you honestly, I think it's better that you take the L in one year and you have Matt Breida be your running back. He's cheap, and just put your money towards trying to get an offensive line.
I mean, I don't. I mean, this is more, I guess, for next year. I don't really care what they do with them right now. It's just, please, for the love of God, don't draft a quarterback. It's gonna make me upset.
Well, we'll see, Craig, when it's April, late April, early May, maybe. If the
It's
Giants listen to you,
it's fun when the season's already over in October.
should we end this episode on playoff predictions?
Yeah.
No.
Oh, okay. AFC, I think it's going to be the Chiefs one. I think it's going to be relatively the same as is right now at the hunt. Maybe the Jags drop to the third seed and Miami moves up to the fourth. Or excuse me, the Jaguars drop to the fourth seed. Miami moves up to the third seed.
Yeah.
I think the Bengals can move up to the fifth seed possibly, and the
I,
Steelers
I
and
think I,
Browns slide.
I think for the Bengals right now,
I do
like
think. Oh, excuse me. I do think the Bills will make it to the playoffs. I think they might be the seventh or sixth seed because I don't think the Steelers will make it. Maybe the Steelers or Browns are a toss up for me.
I mean,
I pray to the football gods they don't make it.
I hope both teams don't make it. Honestly,
Well, at least for
I,
the Steelers, they can't be in the playoffs.
I think, yeah.
For
I
the
mean,
good football, it's better if they're not in it.
I think honestly with the Bengals, it doesn't matter where they land. Just they'll make it. I think seeding like the way the AFC is like, I think them you probably have them and the Chiefs go far.
what say you, Craig?
No, I kind of agree with that. Like again, I think it's going to be the Browns will make it, but not the Steelers, and hopefully the Bills get the seventh seed. Because if the Steelers make it, I'm going to be so upset because they're going to get killed by whoever they play.
Yeah. For the NFC, I think it's virtually identical to what they have right now, except the Cowboys would slide up to the fifth seed, and the Seahawks would slide down to the sixth.
Yeah, I mean maybe the Falcons steal the seventh seed, but I'm not too optimistic.
I already did my hot take. I think the Vikings are taking the seventh.
Could happen.
Yeah,
Who
it'll
knows?
probably let see if the Seahawks could like be consistent, they could take their division. But because I wouldn't be shocked if like the Niners, you know, it takes them, probably the last 4 weeks. They hit their stride. They get hot as like the fifth seed, and then go in and knock the Seahawks out, or like the sixth seed. Mm. But yeah, I think you have the Eagles as number one, Lions, and whoever wins the NFC West. It'll probably be the Niners, but I also wouldn't be surprised if the Seahawks jump them.
Hmm. Well, we won't know until we do our Super Bowl / end of season review, which won't be until February. So yeah. Any other final thoughts, boys?
I don't like the Steelers.
Yeah, I'm with you on that.
Who day?
Yeah, I'm rooting for the Bengals to go all the way.
I'm
We'll
all in
see.
for them.
Maybe for next episode, I'll try to listen to one of these and see what I said the first time because I don't remember half the time.
Well, I mean, I don't remember but I don't really like. I don't know. I guess I don't care too much about what my predictions are. Other than they're meaningless by some no name. Like,
It's also we're not putting money on this. Like,
That's
not
true.
putting money, but like to
stakes.
me, these are just like meaningless predictions. Like if I'm wrong, whatever.
That's
It's
what I'm
not like
saying.
I was investing
There's those
hours.
stakes. Yeah.
That's true.
Well, because like some of these like talking heads, they want to be like, I got to be the guy. I'm gonna have this hot take that's gonna be ahead of the curve, and like they're always wrong. Like I'd rather just let things play out and then
Well, I mean, the
be
good thing
Captain
is
Hindsight.
if the Bengals go far, Mel Kiper will be happy.
That's true.
But
Yeah, well, we've been
um,
the Unbiased Opinion, where everyone's opinion is biased except ours. I am Colin.
I'm not a Steelers fan.
Yeah.
and I'm a substitute Giants fan.
Yeah, whatever, pal. We will see you next week.